People down below look to the lone stars above. Hey everybody, it's Wild of the Lone Stars. To most people, we're known as the Lone Stars League, and the reason for this is that we were founded in DC Universe Online, where they have leagues instead of things like guilds in other games, sort of like the Justice League, except, smaller and for the players to amass into groups. Most of the videos that we have up on Lone Stars Gaming are all based upon DC because that is our most played game and the one we always come back to. But in between DLCs and when we have downtime, a lot of us play other games. We have Skyforge, Overwatch, Guild Wars, all over the place. Different people play different games. We all just sort of scatter, and then we sort of come back to DC. One of the games that I've always personally come back to or tried to is Terra. My old system didn't really allow me to play it, but now that I'm back into it, I understand why I keep coming back to this game. But it's also easy to see why it didn't stick for anyone else. There's a lot of bad in this game, specifically right up front towards new players. But towards the end of the game, there's a lot of really cool features that I think they just missed out on, and that's why nobody really wants to play. And I want to showcase all of it. This is Terra, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the funny. So first off, the good of Terra. We're going to start with the simplest thing, because you've already seen it, and that's the graphics. I'm pretty sure my graphics are not on the highest setting, and I'm pretty sure I would lag if they were on the highest setting. That being said though, this game still looks really, really good. You've got some absolutely beautiful zones, and it's just incredible. I've seen other games like Skyforge and Guild Wars 2, and those games have come out within like the last 5 years. Terra is like 70 years old. I'm kind of surprised it looks as magnificent as it does, and it really captures this sense of awe. They're also able to use some kind of cheap tricks that really make you feel different in different zones. For instance, as I travel in this area, you'll start to see the sky change color, and it'll just give a completely different, tone to the area. And now they're able to do some pretty crazy things like this. And that's pretty cool. I really do appreciate the little things like that. Overall, Terra has a very, very pretty system. Very pretty world, I should say. And it's incredible to think about how old this game is and how good everything looks to this day. And you have to give it props for that. There's nothing here missing from the world itself. It may not look the best unless you have the highest, graphics settings on, and then maybe even then it just doesn't look as good as Skyforge. But the world definitely has a lot of character and personality, and a lot of work went into it. So the other thing that they got right in Terra is not the Ellen race. We'll get to that in a second, guys. That'll be in the bad portion. You can definitely classify that in the bad category, and we'll get to that in a second. One of the other great things about Terra is the UI. I can't believe I'm saying that. It's the only MMO so far that I think has gotten it perfectly. Now, there have been other games that have tried, some of them pretty recent, that have just utterly failed. Skyforge, for instance, you can't hit escape and get your arrow key and just click on things in the game to get like options and stuff like that. That's not a thing. It's really bizarre. I doubt you could click on your powers and do attacks either. It's a really, really bizarre sort of scenario where you don't have an arrow key. You hit your escape key and you want to get your system menus, and it starts bringing up a whole bunch of menus. And you're like, wow, what's going on here? And then you have to shuffle through a whole bunch of stuff to get to it. DC has the same thing, but it was also made for consoles as well, whereas I don't think Skyforge was. Guild Wars 2, theirs just kind of looks a little bit archaic, but it's still not customizable. So you're here, you don't like, in general, chat LFG or something. You click this little thing, all you have to do is hit escape, and you can pretty much click anything. You hit here, you go to current chat options, and you can change the color and what's activated, and you can adjust the opacity and the font size and a whole bunch of cute little crap right there. My health bar, I have it shown as percentages right now. I like that a little bit better, but maybe you don't like that. You just go into options. I have all these resized, but I'll get to that in a second. You go to UI, and you have all your UI stuff. You have UI scale. You can scale individual elements. So if this isn't big enough for you, you can set it to senior citizen style. There, now can you see it? Everything is customizable. Everything in the user interface you can mess around with. That's not to say there aren't some little bugs here and there, but in general, you can do whatever you want with the user interface. It's just so easy once you get into it, and you can make things the way you want it, which is pretty cool. They really, really got it right. This game is free to play. As far as I have seen, there is absolutely nothing combatively that you can't do as a free-to-play person. All the content is available. All the power sets are available. Some of them you can't access until you have a higher level tune on that specific account or server, but everything is available right off the bat, which is really cool. DC is more like free to try. You can try a few pieces of content here and there. You can try a few power sets, but if you really want the bulk of the game, you have to pay for it. This game is free to play. As far as I've seen, all of it is free. Now, to go along with this, they've got a pretty extensive Tera store to help them pay for the game, where you can buy items with money in real life. It was Halloween recently. You want a character that's spooky for Halloween, you can put stuff on. You can go right here to the Tera store. This is new, I believe. You can preview items, all kinds of stuff. My personal favorites is that you're able to try mounts, test them out. Look. I've never seen this in another game. It's really cool. It's my personal favorite, Cinder. Pretty sick, if you ask me. You can test out, them running or their roar. It's just really cool. And you think all this stuff is just sick, right? Well, if you don't want to pay real money, you can buy it from the broker. All these things, everything in the game that you can buy from the Tera store with real money, people can resell to the broker. Also, the broker system is really easy. You right-click on something, or click and drag it. Sorry, I am not doing it the right thing. My listings. I think you can right-click on it. Yep, you set it to what you want to sell it for. If you scroll over an item, it'll tell you what its average sale is, or you can just drag and drop it. You tell it what it wants to do. This broker is ridiculously huge with, like bazillions and bazillions of things. And my friends are like, wow, the broker's really slow today in DC. It must be because of all the people trying to upload, things to the broker. And I'm like, that is absolute crap, because in Tera, they have like a bazillion more things, and it runs very smoothly. It doesn't have any sort of negative, it doesn't feel slow. Wow, there's a lot of stuff from Halloween. I didn't even check in here. That is really cute. Frankenstein heads, birthday hats, all this cute stuff. Or you can search something. So you know that wolf I was talking about? And I probably spelled that right. Oh, I'm not in the right position. I'd have to search all. Sorry. So, there. Cinder Storm. I don't know if you can preview mounts. You can usually preview like styles of gear from here by control clicking, but yeah, you can buy it. Now it costs a lot of gold. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. It costs a lot of gold, and I don't have that much, but if I did, I could buy it, and the only way as I know to get the cinders are to buy them from the Tera store. So this game is free to play. Everything is accessible as a free player. So another really big selling point of Tera is its action combat. It relies on attacks that have hitboxes to deal damage. So there is no tab targeting in Tera. You can't just lock onto this guy and then shoot an attack. There are a few moves like that, but most of them are based upon the distance you are from your enemy, and you have to actually land a hit. They have hitboxes, which means if your attacks don't align properly with where the enemy is, you don't deal any damage to them. You actually have to make contact. Like I said, most of these are just based upon the direction you're facing, but sometimes you need the little reticle thing, as in the case of that cable step move I used, which is like the shooting the thing off on the chain, the scythe off on the chain, which I'll do again, this time actually hitting my enemy on purpose. And you see it works fine. You need to actually hit the enemies. It's really weird, and I think for some people, this is just kind of a killer. And I have to say, playing on a mouse pad with a laptop, this isn't easy. But this allows them to do some pretty crazy things with games, specifically BAMs. The game was pretty droll, and I had these pretty cool powers and hitboxes and stuff, but nothing really to use them on until I encountered my first BAM, which is not this. It was a basilisk in one of the forest areas, and most people looking at it would have been like, oh, big monster, I shouldn't hit it because it'll hit me back. And what you can do in some games like Guild Wars is I can be all the way like freaking back here, and you'll have your mouse on the game, in game all the time. You just click on the enemy, and then you can shoot them all the way from back here. But the downside is they do the same to you. In this game, enemies do not have instant lock-on moves where they can just scroll a reticle over you and shoot you. They have to have their attacks make contact with you. They have ranged moves, they have physical moves, but they have to make contact with you to kill you. So unlike some games that put you up against a big monster and just say, here, kill it, but it'll hit you really hard, just to let you know, and there's no avoiding its attacks. Just because it's a big monster and we've decided it's going to be a boss, it's going to hit you really hard. In this game, they kind of don't follow that format, and they're able to make it even riskier. These BAMs can kill you in a few hits. This one's way lower level than me, it won't, but the ones that are higher level than you will kill you in a few hits, even the ones around the same level as you. On my ninja, I went from 88% HP down to 34% HP with one hit, and it wasn't even like the BAM's biggest hit, wasn't its weakest either, but each battle is really intense, and it reminds me of the Dark Souls games a lot. Now, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on BAM fighting, and the only reason why is because I'm going to put out a video at the same time I do this one, which is why I love BAMs in Tera, and BAM fighting in Tera. And I'll probably just go through a few of them and show you what I've experienced. Some of them were fresh battles, meaning I'd never done it before, and then other ones I had actually done before. I'm just kind of screwing around right now. But it's really cool to see some crazy boss monsters go down to you, especially when the fights are really, really long or really intense. People of Dark Souls, you will love this game. Just fight something that's a little bit out of your league. I know it sounds kind of weird, but just fight something that's a little bit too hard for you to handle, and it'll be absolutely fun. There's also some rewards to defeating them, but I wish the rewards were a bit better if you were defeating something solo that maybe is way higher level than you, or that should be taken down with a group. But the BAMs are awesome. They're in their own video just because it's more of something you have to watch to decide if you like or not. If you're not too into the fight big monsters alone thing, then you can do it with groups. There are BAMs that are made for groups, or you can team up with a friend and buddy up and destroy them. There's really nothing that's wrong with the BAM system, and it's a huge selling point to this game. Huge. Literally. I'm just kind of surprised you don't get to experience them right off the bat. In the new zone, the Footstep Island, or whatever the heck it's called, I don't even remember what it's called. Let me check here. Stepstone Isle is the new starting zone thingamajigger, and in that zone, for the final boss of like the story mission, you fight a decently big monster. It's pretty cool, but I don't think it was hard enough. And I'll get into a little bit of that towards the end of this review, towards the ugly. But it shouldn't be too hard that players can't get through it, but also I think that it should be difficult enough to warn them off if they have chose a class that's a bit over their head. But I'll get into that a little bit later. Just know that BAMs are so fun. Fight them alone, fight them in groups, whatever. You have some absolutely fun times fighting these gargantuan titanic creatures. Now, this goes along with the fighting BAMs is freaking awesome sort of deal, and that would be the dungeons, the end game dungeons. You can do a few once you hit 60, and there are other ones along the way, but really the end game dungeons, as I can tell, are extremely fun, and that's pretty important to have in a game where your end game is pretty fun. Now, I have to say I've just kind of started. But from what I can tell, the end game is going to get really, really hard. They have tons of enemies in rooms, and you have to have tanks that gather them all up together. And then there's big BAMs that are like, the bosses. And the tank's job is to keep them to keep the boss there and not worry about the ads. That's the job of specific DPS. And then you've got the healer, which has to heal the group, and the ads usually attack the healer. Everybody has to play their roles correctly, in other words. The tank has to handle the boss, the DPS have to handle the ads, and then the boss afterwards, and the healer has to keep everyone alive during all the chaos. So it requires people to play the roles properly in order to get the dungeons done, as well as having them be pretty darn challenging sometimes as well. And I can imagine that towards endgame they get really difficult, and you have to have all the right stuff on them to get through them properly, to get through the runs properly. You need specific armor, you need specific buffs for your characters, and that's pretty cool to know that it does have fun endgame, especially bringing the BAM aspect into the endgame. And that's it for the good of Tera. Now you might be like, wait, that's it? That's all the good things? And kind of, yeah, it's got, great UI and surroundings, really interesting enemies that have dynamic attacks, hit boxes, action combat, some intense fights, some great endgame bosses. But there isn't really a story, and I'll get to that in a second. But let's first address the little girl in the room. The race in this game, there are many different races in this game, but the one that definitely is an oddity in any game I've ever played is this one. This is the Ellen race. This is actually a specific race. I think they wanted to go for some sort of pixie princess nature spirit thingamajigger, and they end up making little girls that have aminal pieces on them. It's a very strange choice, and a lot of my friends, they'll be like, "What are you playing?" I'll be like, "Terra," and they'll be like, "Oh, the pedophile game," and I'll be like, "Oh gosh," and it just makes you face palm every time. But they're kind of not wrong in that it was a really stupid choice for the developers to do this. What makes it even worse, and I'll be going over this in the ugly, and I wasn't even sure to put this point in the bad or the ugly, I think it just needs to be addressed, but certain races can only be certain classes. This class that I am, the Reaper, can only be played by the Ellen, and I really like the Reaper class as a whole, and so it's just kind of irritating that there was no option to be something, to be a different race. It had to be this or nothing, and that's kind of irritating considering how freaking awesome it is. The ninja's the same way. Once again, I'll dig into this when it gets to the ugly, but it just needs to be stated, because that really is just one of the weirdest things, and I can easily see somebody seeing this that gets, triggered easily and just be like, nope! This next thing that I'm going to talk about in the bad is absolutely baffling to me. I've never seen another game that's elected to do this that is as balanced as Terra is, or as close to as balanced as a game can really be, in my opinion, for an MMO. And that bad choice is there is no scorecard. Let me say that again. This game doesn't have a scorecard for end game content like raids and stuff like that. Now, in other games, maybe this kind of works. I actually think this is one of the things that Guild Wars 2 kind of is in trouble for, and one of the reasons that I'm not super psyched to get into the end game of that. But to not have one in here is a real problem, and I'll tell you why. The reason that it's a real problem in this game is because certain classes like the Berserker or the Ninja, specifically the Berserker because they're not dying if they're not doing their damage right, they're just not getting their damage off. But that's the thing. What happens if you're in some sort of dungeon and there's this Berserker and he's hitting all of his hits? He's perfect, he's flawless, everything's dying pretty quick, maybe not quicker than normal because he's a little bit under geared, but everything's dying fast, it's going well, and you're like, I bet I'm out DPSing him just because I'm hitting my attacks. But you have no idea how much harder their class is to play, and they're probably smashing your damage into little bits. And at the same time, you can be in a group with a Berserker that's just missing all of their attacks, or maybe they've decided that they're not good enough to hit those big charge-up moves, so they're just not going to use them. And unless you're recording them or not paying attention to what else is going on, in the battle, and you're just watching them, you don't know if they're absolutely worthless or like the best player on the planet. And that's kind of bad, because when you're in a dungeon you can't get through it, and it's because ads keep chewing the healer into little bits and eating them. What are you supposed to do? Are you just supposed to just disband the whole thing? It could be one person that just doesn't know what they're doing, a new player or something like that. This will tie once again a tiny bit into the ugly, but it's just, it is kind of annoying. So on top of Terra having a whole bunch of non-minor little things, I should say, like the scoreboard, which do bug me a lot, but it's also got some minor little quirks, some things that really are sort of nitpicky but should be brought up. First off, flying mounts are new to the game, and I completely understand that, but because of this, there are a lot of high places that I guess the developers just never expected the player to actually go. And because of this, you end up falling through like roofs. A roof of a building, but you're stuck in between the walls or something like that. And it's happened to me multiple times because the walls of the building are solid, but you weren't meant to fall through the roof, so you like fall through pillars, fall through roofs. And I've been playing on and off for about I want to say like a week and a half, and I've been stuck around like 8 times. You just go up to options, unstuck, you're unstuck. You can only use it once every 30 minutes though, so don't get stuck more than 30 minutes. It also warps you to a safe camp, which is I think why they even put the timer on there. But yeah, it's kind of weird. You can't fly in all zones right now, and I think that's probably why they're fixing some of the stuff, but you still find those little bugs all over the place. And now, the ugly of Terra. This stuff is so ugly, horrendous, and disgusting that it actually makes players leave the game. It actually negatively affects the game. I've already talked about how the Ellen race just being in the game could possibly be in the ugly category. If it's not just hurting people's feelings and they're not just sort of offended by it, but they don't want to play because of it or they leave because of it, that is damaging to the game. That's what's going here. So let's say you've got all your races over here, right? They make it pretty simplistic. This is like the first menu, one of the first menus you see. This is character creation. You can do, human, male, female. Then you can choose, your class. You want to be a berserker or a slayer, or you want to be a lancer. And then all of a sudden you decide you want to be a mon and a lancer female. And then you say, no, I want to be an Ellen, and then I want the Ellen to be a mystic. And all's well and right with the world. However, there are some absolutely terrible limitations with this. First off, this one, only Ellens can be Reapers, and to create one you have to have a level 40 character or above on the server. So you'd have to be the Ellen race, plus you've got that limitation. Let's say you want a high elf ninja, right? You want to be a high elf ninja, or let's say you have a guy, let's say you have Max, and Max really likes Naruto, and he wants to make a human ninja, and he's gonna, give him spiky orange hair, and he's gonna somehow dress him in orange. So he goes to the ninja class, and it says, oh, only the Ellens can be ninja. And then he has to make Sakura. Not the end of the world, but at the same time, you're not given a whole lot of freedom. How about this one, the Brawler? Only human females can be brawlers. Click to confirm change your race to human and gender to female. This is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. And the reason why they do this is apparently because it gets them money, supposedly. Like this, because the humans sell more costumes. Not the humans, the females sell more costumes. I don't think what they realize, though, is people will just turn off the game if they can't make the character they want. There are some people that are really, really impatient. The new class, the Gunner, comes out. Only Kostanique and High Elf females can be Gunners. Choose the race you want to be, Kostanique or High Elf, and it has to be females. They don't even give you the option for this. This right here is utterly stupid. So now it's time for me to tell you my least favorite thing about the game. My least favorite thing in Terra. And that would be the leveling system. Oh my gosh, I hate the leveling system so much. Originally, I almost stopped playing Terra because of the leveling system. If I hadn't encountered that first spam, I probably wouldn't have stuck with the game. It's a real problem. The story is all text-based with a cutscene here or there, and the cutscenes actually look kind of interesting. Some of them towards the end actually get kind of bloody. They show Ellens getting all bloodied up, and although they have very adult personalities, it's still like little children's bodies getting like bloodied up, and I was like, can they show that? But other than those cutscenes, everything is text-based. There's not a whole lot of I don't know what to say. It's most of it is text-based, and that's a real problem. On top of that, there's a lot of missions where they tell you to go from one place to another. Right now, I'm in this town, and now I have to go over to that question mark, if I showed my mission tracker, to Final Fury. See where this is. This is also, I didn't understand a lot about this before either, so I go to the one with the little orange dot. So I'm here, and I have to go all the way down here. Now, New players don't know about this because they don't tell new players this, because they don't treat new players well in this game at all. But you don't actually technically have to run there. You can take a teleport master, which is somewhere in this city, and you can just get teleported to like nearby cities and stuff, but they don't tell you that. Why would they tell you that? You're a new player. You don't get the luxury of learning new things about the game that would make your life easier. So you talk to this person, you go Final Fury, that's the mission we want to do. There's a whole bunch of words on the screen, but you're all hyped with adrenaline. And you don't want to listen to what she's talking, so you just hit your skip button, and now it says to do stuff, and you go to the other question mark on your map. So I talked to this guy, I want to do Final Fury, right? And then he says a whole bunch of stuff, words and stuff, but I don't want to read it because I'm high on adrenaline. And now I finally get the one that I actually want the one, and I go over there and I'll kill, horned berserker things. You talk to this guy, and he says a whole bunch of words, and you say, okay, and then he sends you to the next location, and you walk there. Do you guys understand that the entire leveling up to level 65 is like this? The whole way through. You having fun yet? Are you having fun yet? That is what, personally, to me, is the worst of Terra. So let's go to talk to this last person, see what they have to say, see if our life is changed, or if it's more of the same. What do you guys think it's going to be? So talk to this person, Final Fury, words, and now I've got that place lit up on my map. It's never going to change. Run, kitty, run, run and leave flower trails behind you. Little Okami. Meow. You better buckle up. It's gonna be fast. Fast piggy. Oink, 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 oink. You better watch out, old lady, otherwise I might run you over. Oh yeah, beetle time. I'm ready to run. Here we go. I can't run anymore. So hey everybody, you made it to the end of the video. I want you guys to do two things for me. One, if you can take the bad and the ugly from this game, try out Terra. This isn't just for the League, this is for everyone. If those little things like the extraordinary long, terrible leveling process, if you can look past that to get to some fun end game and to fight some big monsters, then I've done you a favor. Try out Terra, you'll probably love it. Instead of being the guy with like a little, sword and shield like in Dark Souls, you got all these crazy powers, you got monsters that have crazy powers, it'll be fun. And you can check out my next video on the BAMs. And the second thing I want you to do, because it's close to Thanksgiving, I want you to take the like button, and I want you to say, hey Charlie Brown, come over here and kick the like button. And he's a little too smart for that. He'll say something along the lines of, no, are you kidding? You're just going to pull it out from underneath me and watch me fall flat on my back. And you don't have to worry about that because you'll just say this. Just tell him, but it's for Wild's video. It's for the Lone Stars. You need to hit the like button so that they get lots of likes. Even I'm not cruel enough to deny them that. And he'll think about it, and then he'll do it. He'll say, okay, I'll do it. And he'll come running to hit that like button. He's gonna come kick it. He's gonna come kick it. And then whoosh, you pull it right from underneath him, and you stick it underneath where he's gonna land, and bam! He hits the like button. Everybody wins, except for Charlie Brown, who is a loser. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Stick with the Lone Stars to get starstruck.